London is the opposite of Las Vegas. You see, what happens in Vegas, it stays in Vegas. But what happens in London doesn't just stay in London. It impacts the rest of the UK. It impacts Europe. It impacts beyond that. What happens in London shapes the culture of the rest of the world. Maybe New York is the cultural capital of the United States. We love New York. But London is the cultural capital of the rest of the world. And what happens in London doesn't stay here, it impacts the rest of the world. If we look at business, look at the finances. What happens in London impacts the rest of the world. When we think about fashion, what happens in London impacts the rest of the world. When we think about creativity and the performing arts, what happens in London, it doesn't just happen in London, it impacts the rest of the world. And I believe that's the same when it comes to faith. In fact, last time there was a great awakening, a major revival in London, and we're talking hundreds of years ago, with the likes of George Whitefield and John and Charles Wesley. The awakening began in London, but it didn't just stay in London. In fact, the Great Awakening, which began in London, spread around the world. And we're not talking about hundreds or thousands, we're talking about millions of people around the world came to know Jesus because a Great Awakening began in London. Because what happens in London doesn't just stay in London. So the fact that we get called to be a church in London is such an honor and a privilege. We get called to make disciples in London is such an honor and privilege. We're called to be the witnesses of God in London. Wow. We could be anywhere right now, and witnessing to anyone is pretty great, but having the opportunity to do it here in this city is incredible.